Do you interact with kids on a daily basis? Maybe you're a mom, a grandma, or maybe just a mentor. If so, today's episode is for you. Join us as we dive into the talk about parenting, the joys, and maybe the not so joys, and what God has to say about it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Shieldmaidens podcast. This is the place where we hope you'll come to be raised up to be a warrior for Christ, while also learning how to fight back against the enemy. And the whole time we really just want to point you to Jesus. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Riley.
We're your hosts. We're so glad that you're here again today to join us for another fun conversation. And like Riley said, we are talking about parenting today. So that's going to be a lot of fun. While I'm thinking about it, if you don't mind to go ahead and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, that would be great. We'd love if you like, comment, share our videos. Make sure you have the notification bell on so you get notified every week when we have new episodes come out on Tuesdays. And then if you're listening on the audio only versions, make sure you're following along. And we'd love a review so we could continue to share this out and reach as many people as we can for Jesus.
Sure would.
Yeah. We've got two guests with us today.
And they are awesome.
Two amazing friends, and we've just been laughing even before we started.
And
it's going to be so fun today. So if you want, before we get started, if you two ladies just want to introduce yourselves, tell us your names.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want. What you do about your family, we're open.
Just a snippet.
Just, no big deal. Just a snippet, whatever, so our audience can know who you are.
Go for it.
So my name's April Sanders, and I am a mom to a 16-year-old boy and a bonus mom to 3 amazing kids as well. And I own a salon called Lux Salon in Boonville. And as far as parenting, I don't have it together.
Join the club.
It's fine.
None of us do.
But I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Excited to be here with my friend.
Yes.
Hey, who's your friend? Just kidding.
I am Nicole Davis, and I am a photographer, and I have 3 kids. I have a 16-year-old who just got her license yesterday and drove to my house and drove to her house.
New prayer level.
Yeah, and then I have an 11-year-old and an 11-year-old daughter, and then a 9-year-old son. And my husband is a firefighter, and we have 2 Great Danes that I'm obsessed with. I love my fur babies.
Yes. Yeah, tell us about your husband then real quick if you want. You said, I forgot about my
You
husband.
have a husband?
Oh, yes. His name's Chris. And we've been married for 9 years.
And he's an afterthought by now.
Yes, he's good, though. So good.
Yes. How long have you been married, Nicole?
18 years.
Yeah. Me too. Although the other day I said 17 and I was like, oh, that's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben's better at keeping track than I am, honestly.
I mean, it kind of runs together
It
in a good way. Yeah. Yeah.
I always have to do math. Like, I know we got married in this. Okay.
Yeah. Let's back up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
Same here.
Thanks, ladies. Thanks for introducing yourselves. Thanks for coming today and
Thanks for having
being
me.
with us, talking with us. We you mentioned you're not an expert at parenting. Well, none of us are. I mean, maybe Riley. Riley probably has it more together than I do. But I think even when I text the two of you about this, you both were like, "Oh, we don't have it together," and I'm like, "We're all literally just like going on coffee and prayers here. Like this is how we're caffeine and prayers. This is how we're
Nobody has it
winging
together. And
Nobody
if
has
they
it together.
think they have it together, they're probably more wrong than
Absolutely.
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
That was my reaction. I texted her and I was like, does she have any idea what she's asking?
I did know what I was asking. Yes. And I did know the two of you. I know the two of you well enough to know that I trust you to come on.
That's right.
You to come on
thank
and
you.
just share. I think that's really like, I think the both of us just want to talk about like just the real stuff. You know what I mean? Like none of us have the answers to it all. None of us have it together.
None of the ears that are listening have it together.
Yeah.
Like we're all there in the same boat.
Yeah. And we've had a lot of requests for parenting content. So yeah. So we just thought we'd
no
do
pressure.
some different angles. Yeah, no pressure. No, there really truly is no pressure. Like we're just gonna chat and then we'll see what comes of it. So I guess my overall general question maybe to start with is all of us love Jesus, of course, and we want our kids to love Jesus. how do we point our kids to Jesus and try to raise godly kids in a world that does not love Jesus
At all.
at all? It really is doing things very opposite of what God desires for us. So just a small question. How do we raise godly kids in a world or maybe just, what's your view? I mean, I have thoughts too, but what are your thoughts about that? How do we raise godly kids in a world that's not godly?
Yeah. Communication.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Like not being scared to talk to them. Yeah. I know as raising teens, we're in what somebody reminded me of the quiet years. And because I know Nicole can speak into this. Sometimes they don't want to talk. And and it's typically like at 10 o'clock at night when you want to go to bed and you're like, oh my gosh, okay, well, and there's been so many times like that I felt God convict my heart when I'm like, oh, can we just talk about this in the morning? And it's like, no, this is where they're prime. And it's sometimes just listening to what they're not saying. And even the small moments, just when they come in through the kitchen and it may be loud for a moment and they may lean in and just say a word. And I've had to really check my heart on just remembering to listen for those words that they're just wanting to stay connected, because social media, kids at school, they're all speaking things to them constantly. And so praying that God would shield that noise and that they would be able to hear truth. And so, we're a blended family, and so we don't have the kids. It's a 50-50 split. And so when we have the kids, sometimes it's hard to remember, okay, we have them right now. How can we speak life into them? And my kids right now aren't on fire for Jesus. And for a Christian mama, that I struggle with that. And but God is just continuing to remind me to just love them and cherish those moments. And so I just had a talk with my kid on the way here. He calls me bawling, and he's 16 and he's struggling with his girlfriend, and they're trying to teach him about how to just relate to others and stay calm. And so I was like, oh God, my heart hurts. It hurts coming into here, and I know there's so many of you that have the same thing. You have teens and even preteens that are just trying to find their place. And so I'm just speaking life over them. I want to shove the word down their throat all the time. But learning how to communicate with the word, not necessarily saying this is Romans 8:28 or just intertwining that language in our language. I've noticed the biggest takeaway from that.
That's so good.
I don't know, Nicole, I want you to pass this on to
I think my biggest thing is prayer, because I feel like I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And
join the club.
I think, yeah. And I pray a lot that, I want to do things differently. I want to do things better. I want to work on, I didn't have a bad upbringing at all, but there's things that I would like to do differently, that just to help cultivate a more personal relationship with Jesus with them growing up, so that it's more personal to them instead of it being mine and this is just what you're taught. It's more of an experience for them, and knowing Jesus on their own and being able to relate to him and be able to dig into the word and pray on their own and those kind of things. So I pray a lot for that. I pray that Jesus fills the gaps, because I feel like I have a lot of gaps. I think another thing is community and finding a church that loves on your kiddo. We are so blessed with that. My kiddos gets along great with our pastor, and he knows how to speak her language and can speak things to her that nobody else could, My oldest is very extroverted. Is that a good word for it? Yes. I've never really, this is a hard thing, but it's also a really good thing, is I've never really had to worry about her being her own person. She has always been a strong personality, and I always pray that will help lead others to Christ instead of her leading that game in prison. So
they're either going to,
they're one in the family.
Whether it's,
And I think she'll do, really big things, but she is such a natural leader. I want to cultivate that with good things, So I pray a lot with her because it's it's hard and it's exhausting a lot, but she's so cool and she's so strong. And but I love like one of my favorite things that she does, and she just started this, and I love it. Every time I pick her up from school, she gives me the rundown of her entire day. Like from the moment she walks in, she's like, first period, we did this. Second period, we did that. Third period, at lunch, I changed lunch tables and just all of this. And so I love it. You know,
She just started doing that?
yeah, just like a couple months ago. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I don't even have to ask. She just does it. And it opens up a lot of good talking opportunities. So, yeah.
That's pretty incredible that she
is.
even just will talk with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there are, I mean,
Yeah.
and it just depends on their personality, I think, too, sometimes.
much.
But there are kids who just don't tell you anything,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it depends on the kid. But
Absolutely. I have 3 very different
yeah.
personalities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Funny how that
Yeah, so
always
do I.
happens.
Yes, it is.
I only have 2, and they're polar
So
opposite.
opposite,
Yeah, came out of the same parents.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
It is crazy.
No, mine are all 3 different too. I love all the points that you guys brought up. I think all of the like the communication, prayer, and community. Like,
Yeah.
holy cow, those are
Right.
those are huge. And I'm sure there's practical things that you guys do too. I don't know if you have anything else. Your kids are a little bit younger. Like you don't have teens yet. You have one that's close to preteen. I'm telling you, it comes close.
I have a close to preteen, and then the attitude of a teenager.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine are 10, 12, and 14. So I have one teen, one that's on the way.
Yeah.
That definitely is a
It's a change.
yeah.
It's a challenge.
It is.
So, you know, just the different ages and stages, it probably looks different too. If you're someone who has little bitties at home still, that's
Very
totally
much so.
different as far as raising trying to raise them in a godly manner than a teenager. You know, it's totally, but the principles are still the same. And I think you set the tone when they're younger.
Oh, for sure.
You know.
Absolutely.
Well, even like I've learned having friends over who their children I didn't raise, and homes that aren't like ours. So I can't expect the kids to be like mine, but I constantly feel like I'm on the defense of like, okay, no, that's not the truth. Okay, that's not the truth. Okay, no, we don't watch this because of this. Okay, well, you're not letting those things in our home, and so and I mean, these are 8 and 9-year-olds, and so it's insane to think that it's gonna get harder. Like the enemies are gonna get bigger and scarier and more influential.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It seems really hard whenever they're little, but I think the hard just changes.
Yeah.
It's a different
does.
kind of hard.
Yeah.
Shifts
It's
around.
just different.
Because when they're little, you're so physically
Yes.
involved and exhausted because
Yeah.
you're doing everything like the bathing, the feeding, the dressing, the loading in and out of the car, and nobody listens, and they may still not listen when they're older, you know, but just it's so physically exhausting when they're little.
Yeah.
And not that it's not, there's a lot of running around as they, at least for our family, as they have gotten older, but it's a different kind of hard with the worry and trying to point them in the direction they need to go and worrying about who they're surrounding themselves with. And
Absolutely.
That's a big thing.
yeah.
I know our house, when we have the kids, tends to be like the home where everybody comes.
Yeah.
And like there's been times like we get frustrated because it's so loud.
Yeah.
Because we're a family of
So
6,
loud.
and there's been I think you guys have been over when we've had like 14 or something.
Yeah.
And which is great because we're like, well, we know who they're with, but listening to the conversations, and then it reminds us to be mindful of our conversations when they're present. Like, are we speaking what we're trying to implement and what we're trying to teach? And so I know we've had kids come in our home that we've had to ask to not come back. And I hate that because we want to be the home that loves on them. But it's like you do have to set boundaries in there because you're trying to protect your family as well. And so, but it is, I like it because I always like to know where they're at and who they're, at least we can like adjust who they're with if we need to protect them. And so, because the enemy's obviously, he's going to take any place of weakness that he can. And so, I mean, I'm that crazy Christian lady that likes to go through and pray over each door, you know, through the month. And like, just to protect the house from whoever walks in. We don't know what they're bringing with and what they mean to communicate to them. So I don't know. I'm veering off.
No, that's great. Well, I think
warfare,
sometimes
baby.
we underestimate the power of prayer with our kids.
Absolutely.
Maybe not underestimate it, but like it is so powerful.
Yeah.
When you don't know what to do, or they're going in a direction that maybe you don't think they should be going in, or there's a friend group or a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, that God knows what's going on, you know, too. And he also wants what's best for them more than even we do, you know? So the power of prayer with that.
Yes.
And seeing how quickly God can change things too.
It is interesting. Just to look for the little things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
That's
amazing.
good.
Yeah.
I, as you were talking too, I think another point just with any age of kids is just being intentional with them, like intentional with your time with them, intentional with how you talk with them and the words that you're speaking.
Yeah.
It's easy to just drift along and let things happen in your home or in your life or in your family. And if you're not intentional about the direction that you want your family to go or your kids to go, like they're going to go in a direction. Like I heard an analogy one time, like if you're in a river and you're not actively fighting the current, you're going to drift.
Yeah.
So like it's the same way in life or with your kids or with your faith. Like if you're not actively battling against the current to stay where you're staying or even get further up, like you're going to drift, downstream or whatever. And
Well, even if you're not intentional, the devil always
devil's
is.
intentional.
He's got a
Yes.
file
He's got
folder on you,
strategies.
baby.
Yeah.
He
He literally
knows.
has,
He knows exactly what buttons to push on you and your children.
Yeah.
Yes.
And man, doesn't that bring the mama bear out?
Yeah.
When they pick on your kids, like
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Well, and there is like I feel like there's such an attack on the younger generation. Like if
Very
you can
much
get them
so.
young and mess with their identity so they don't know who they are, and get them, get them young, your claws are in them, and it's harder. Not that it can't happen because God can turn any situation around, but I feel like it's harder to maybe turn that situation around. And
Absolutely.
it happens when they're young. So
It gets hard to be on guard all the time.
it is hard to be on guard all the time.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And I think what you said about community reminded me when I was growing up, my mom always told me who you hang around with is who you become. And so that has been like continually embedded in my brain. But also I always think about like with community aspect of that, where one may be weak. Like I think about our relationship as friends when our families do stuff, like they are the fun family. Like
I can see
Of
that.
course they are. Yes,
they're
of course
always the
they
fun
are.
family. And I'm like,
Said her house
and-
gets loud. That means it's us.
means you're there.
and I'm always like the one that's like, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this. It's like, but Nicole is so awesome about like bringing out that fun and everything. And I love that. And I think that's just like God's gift of community, just reminding us that like how important that is. And
And I'm thankful because my oldest, like, she is so strong-willed and just strong-minded, I guess. And so there's very few people she will listen to and take advice from and all of that, but she will with you. And you can talk to her about things that I probably couldn't as easily. And then you can give me insight. She doesn't usually tell me a lot of details because, we have that little bit of confidence, but she'll be like, I think you need to consider this, and maybe think about it this way. And I'll be like, okay. And challenges me, in good ways too, to reach her.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, that's probably
we need
important.
a tribe.
Yeah.
Like we need a tribe of people around us.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, you absolutely do. I mean,
Yeah. When you're a mom, I mean, all you do is empty your cup into other people. And so you need somebody else to be like, hey, don't forget, you have to be refilled too, whether that's by accountability
Absolutely.
or seeking the feet of the cross.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Do you guys have any like practical? I mean, we're kind of touching on some of these things, but like, do you like? I know families who like have like a devotional time with their family, and or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that, and I just don't get it done. Like,
Do you want
I always have really good
or
intentions.
anything, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or like even like it doesn't have to be that. I'm just like, do you have anything specific practically that you do with your families or have implemented? Does that make sense?
So something that we've done that I actually grew up on and I still absolutely adore is Focus on the Family has a radio drama broadcast called Adventures in Odyssey.
Oh, yeah.
And I grew up on it, listening to them every night going to sleep. And then now my kids do.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
Kanan will listen to it. They have like a virtual podcast type thing that you can get a membership to and listen to all the broadcasting of it. But those have been so good, and they have like specifically a Bible story series, where they teach so many amazing points. Like even they reference like the Hebrew and certain things in the Bible and traditions and customs and all of that. And that has been like, I still love listening to them, and I feel like I've learned so much from them, just as something fun and something to listen to. You know, it keeps their attention. They're really, really cute. And I grew up on those. So now my kids do, and they listen to those every month. And so, or every night whenever they go to sleep. That's just been kind of we love to listen to them on trips. It kind of makes the time go by faster.
We've heard them on vacation.
Well, they can't go to sleep without them now. Love it. But that's been a great way, like for my family, we'll listen to those sometimes while we're coloring and want to turn the TV off for a while or something. And it's still speaking life and teaching them how to apply everyday principles from the Bible, you know. And then we went to Colorado and got to see, they have a whole like museum of it. And so my kids were like in heaven because they got to see the real Odyssey. And they loved it. Yeah. Now they want to go back. But that's been just a really simple thing that all of them love.
That's fun. Yeah. And that's something you brought from your, like you said, your family did it. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's fun to go back and listen to the same things. It's very nostalgic. So I love
that.
Yeah.
So we only, how can I start this? Since we're blended, we don't have the kids every night.
Right.
And we know in this day and age, like there's always activities and stuff constantly going on. But we make sure once a week to sit down and have a meal as a family. And that doesn't seems like, well, there's 3 meals in a day. But for us, and this was something actually my husband implemented, like when we got married, he's like, we have to sit down with our children and talk to them. And so we put this phones to the side or out of the room, and we just sit down and so we've started asking questions like, as simple as, what do you want to be with you when you grow up and why? And so it gives them the opportunity to actually, we get to hear like what's driving them right now. Like, and then we know like what sources are they hearing stuff from and why it's driving them. And so it's, there's so many things that we take from that. Some meals are just a hot mess. Sometimes they do not like the questions, and sometimes we're not getting anywhere. But it's funny because one might be quiet that day, and it'll just give them opportunity to pop up. And sometimes it's just being silly with their sibling or something like that. But this last one we had was Chris and I, we sat there for an hour and a half with them, and it was the longest, we've really sat and just interacted in conversation, and they were all present. And, sometimes there's always one that's just not all there, but this time that they were all present, and it was so amazing just to see God working through that conversation. And it wasn't that we were talking about Jesus the whole time or anything like that. We try to make sure we bring that back into the conversation on why would God make X, Y, and Z. And so, and then we always play music.
Yeah.
So we a lot of times we'll play, obviously we play Christian music throughout the house, but sometimes we'll play classical or something different, but always in the car, we try and make sure that they listen to Christian music. I don't know what they're listening to outside of our home. And it was funny. We were traveling to the ornament shop the other day because we totally missed it for Christmas, and we always get an ornament every year. And Emma, my husband's oldest, she's 16. And she was like, gosh, do we have to listen to this Christian music again? She's like, can't we listen to something else? But, I think in the past I've been like, all right. But I was like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. This is her season that maybe it's not, but I know down the road one day that song's going to come on and she's going to hear God's truth in that song. And so that's just been so eye-opening to us to look for those moments and try and have those moments, even trying to make it in between cheer and different, because everybody's got sports and stuff going on. And so you almost have to get creative in how you find that time.
Yeah.
Whether it be like in the car, dropping them off at school. Like I pray if I take them to school, I pray with each one of them before they go to school. And I know they roll their eyes like every time. And
It's okay. Let them.
Yeah, I say let them roll their eyes.
Okay, because I did it to my mom. She set that stage and did it for me. And I look back and I think these are all the reasons why I follow and love Jesus and want others to know Jesus is because of what my parents instilled in me. And so I'm like, they can roll their eyes all they want to, all the way down the street. And I'm going to add one more thing. And one more thing that I watched my son struggle with depression. And when he was, even when I would drop him off at preschool, I would always say, hey, buddy, smile today. Like smile at least one kid today because you don't know what they're going through. And even to this day, when he leaves for school, I'm like, hey, kiddo, smile for them. And I've seen it change in him. And he's like, Mom, like they're going to think I'm weird. And I was like, be the weird kid. Like be the weird kid that just shows love and kindness because kindness is what draws others to repentance. And it's like, that's what we need in these schools. And so, I'm like, just small snippets have probably been the biggest impact on our kids, and God just really challenging my heart in that. Because I think before in years past, I would try so hard to like, well, they just need to be in the Word every day, and they just have to do this. Well, yes, they do need to do that, but they also have to see that in me. And so, like mornings when they get up and they're getting ready for school, if I have a chance to like sit down while they're all doing their thing, I'll sit down with a word and just so they see it and know that it's
normal.
Yeah, that it is part of everyday life and not to make it weird or anything like that, but and that it cultivates conversation because every once in a while they'll be like, what are you reading? And it's like, okay, let's talk about this.
So that's awesome. Yeah. Those are good, ladies. Do you have anything, Riley?
Well, I was just thinking about a few weeks ago, we had a conversation with two teenagers who were way above what I expected.
Incredible.
It was awesome. But we asked them the same question, like in another form. What is our generation doing that we could be doing better? What do you need from us?
Yeah.
Great
And
question.
the first answer was, it was kind of a gut check to people of our generation. Like, we just need it modeled better. And I was like, wow. So I remember when my parents became real people.
Yeah.
In my eyes, whereas before you see doctors and lawyers and parents and grandparents and they're all perfect and they know what they're doing and everything. And then you get a little bit older and you're like, oh, these people make mistakes too. And then you take a baby home from the hospital and they're like, what do I do with this? Oh, my parents didn't know either. And so I think that's what she was trying to say is like, we just need to know that you're on the same page. Like you're human too and you make mistakes. So I've been a little more intentional about trying to like model mistakes and how to overcome them in front of kids instead of like,
That's really good.
I would say that my parents did a great job and I love them and I respect everything they did, but I don't think I ever saw them other than in church read the Bible. They did it in their own secret place. They had, prayer closets and quiet times, but I didn't know how to do it myself other than, youth group teaching me. And so I'm trying to be a little more intentional about modeling that behavior too. Yes, you are supposed to retreat and study and be alone with God, but also it's okay to do it in front of your family too. And if you do it with your family, that's even better. For sure. So that's just what I was
really
thinking
good.
of. But it was definitely a gut check when she said that. Like, we just need to see it more. Like, oh, okay, you're right.
Well, and that's I want to be comfortable praying in front of my kids with them, for them, even if it's like, oh, you don't feel well today. Let's pray for that. Let's pray that your sore throat goes away or whatever. Or let's pray for your friend. And like the Bible reading, like just modeling that. I think I mentioned it on a different episode, but because I read with a couple of friends every day and we text back and forth. There was one night not too long ago. I'm like, hey, we were in 1 Samuel. I'm like, why don't you guys, my whole family, I'm like, let's just read this chapter together tonight. I hadn't read it yet. And so we sat down and read, and like we had a lot of giggles from it because of my husband's interpretation of something that was, he thought someone had a giraffe neck and they did not have a giraffe neck. It was like, but it was just
in the Bible.
I'm like, what are we missing? We need to talk about the story.
What happened was, I think I mentioned this on a different episode, but Poor Donnie. I'm like, sorry, Donnie.
Donnie version.
I know. It was King Saul when he's being anointed, getting ready to be anointed, or he was anointed as king, but they were getting ready to crown him king, and he's hiding behind all this equipment. And the Bible multiple times mentioned in his like stature that he was head and shoulders above the rest of the people, meaning he was really tall.
And not only his head and shoulders.
Not only, he was picturing this like super long neck. And I'm like, no, I think it just means he's taller. Like he's this much taller than everyone, but
your kids will forever remember that he was tall.
Yeah, our kids will remember. And, we started, I was like, let's do this every night. And we did a few nights and then we've gotten off track. But to the point of that, like, I just at least try to bring it in. Like, let's try to read something together. It doesn't have to be every day. I want them to know they can. My oldest actually last year or 2 years ago, my husband and I talked my husband into reading through the Bible in a year with me.
Awesome.
And so my oldest son was like, maybe I'll do that with you guys, which he didn't, but maybe we'll start it this year. But I don't know. That can be a lot too. I don't want it to be a pressure thing. But I want it to be part of their everyday lives, and I want to be comfortable talking about God in our home, or Jesus, or this is what He's done for me, or God told me to do this or not do this, and I want them to see that like I have time. I'm listening to or trying to listen to God, trying to follow Him, even when it's not easy,
And Bible reading's a discipline, and it's
It really is.
Honestly, it's very hard. I still struggle with it. It's hard for me to sit down and stay focused and meditate on the Word. And I try to do it in other ways too, to kind of mix it up. But so I'll usually have a sermon on or worship music or something along those lines.
She
I'll
sends
even
me all the sermons.
Yeah.
I like it.
I know, I do too. I'm always listening to something.
The best way I can usually do something that helps me to focus, I have to be doing something.
Right. Well, and you can listen, like everybody learns different.
Yeah.
And our kids are different. They're wired different. So you can turn the Bible on the audio if you really need them to have like straight Bible, or if they're wanting to, but they don't want to sit still. Like it's still getting in there. Still getting in there, even if, you maybe not quite see it, but
saturating your mind.
Yeah. And with the worship music, you mentioned that I almost always have music of some sort playing. And my kids get annoyed in the car and they'll be like, can we play a different song? Can we listen to whatever? I'm like, that's fine. We change it. But I'll notice them humming or singing stuff sometimes.
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh, it's getting in there. Like they may not even realize it, but I know that even if it's just their spirit sort of resonating with it, like it's there.
Absolutely.
So
Can I speak into one more thing?
Yeah.
So just a gift of forgiveness, like cultivating that in a home has been
It's challenging.
It is. Ooh. And I just bring that up because like yesterday, God really convicted my heart about what had just transpired. And our dryer heating element went out like the same time my son's car broke down the other day. No. And I got home and there were clothes I'd thrown in the dryer just to like do a fluff. And I forgot about them. So I got home and they were getting all funky. And you walk in there and you're like, it's been a day. And immediately like my attitude was not good. And I opened it up and Chris and Emma were in the kitchen and they were having like such good conversation. And I'm in the laundry room like mumbling. I come out and I'm just like, and immediately like God checked my heart. And I looked at Emma and she kind of looked at me and I looked at her and I was like, I am so sorry. And it was amazing to see like God work in that situation because I immediately seen like her soften, and it wasn't like she was offended at me or anything like that, but she immediately turned back to her dad and she started helping him unload the dishwasher. And if you know Emma, that's not, she is not Kanan, who is like a master dishwasher and
it comes with its fights.
I know. I know it does. I know it does. But that moment, I was like, thank you, God, for convicting my heart for my attitude. And I was like, I am so sorry. And just asking her, and she didn't think anything about it. But to me, it was like one of those holy moments where I was like, okay, God, like this is the parent that I want to be for my kids is to say, I am sorry. Like I acted out and I didn't mean to. And so I could do that more in our home. Like that would be one of the things, is to show them that it's okay to ask for forgiveness. And then it can obviously lead into so much more about Jesus. So,
And I feel like younger kids are so good about that.
yes.
Like, it's so humbling, because I will fly off the handle or something, and I'll start crying or whatever, and usually it's one of the younger ones will come up and give you a hug. Yes. Be like, I'm sorry, Mom. Are you having a rough day or whatever? And then I'm like, I'm sorry. And they're like, it's okay. And they're just so easily forgivable, and they'll hold you. My youngest Truett is still a mama's boy, which I love. And he will at night I go in and I tuck him in, and he won't go to sleep without being tucked in still. And I love it. And I still pray with him, and I try to speak encouraging words over him. And sometimes he has bad dreams, so I try to pray that over him, but he is always, I'll be like, I'm sorry, buddy. I had a rough day. I'm sorry. I was not very nice. And he'll hug me, and he'll like rub my face, and he'll be like, it's okay, Mommy. And it's just so amazing and humbling. And to think that Jesus tells us to become like a child is that gut check of saying, hey, you need to chill, like, thank God they forgive so easily, because I'm not that quick at it usually.
Oh, no, me either. And
It's
you're right.
hard.
Usually the young kids are like, they just can move on.
Yeah.
No, we know.
This is a little different, but my older son is very strong-willed. I think a lot of like first childs, that's not a word. First children, firstborns. There we go. Firstborns. That's the right word. Firstborns are, a little bit like that. I'm not saying all of them, but I feel like that's probably a little bit more common in your firstborn kids. They're just headstrong, strong-willed, know what they want.
Yep.
And he's such a great kid, but he's always been this way. If he's mad, he is mad.
Yeah.
Might like flip the switch, fly off the handle sort of thing. And he may go storm off or whatever. But I have learned if I just give him a little space, he always comes back and apologizes on his own. You can tell, like I can tell whether it probably is God just like softening him, but something in him, he has this tenderness to know like, okay, I need to go make it right or apologize or whatever. Like because I used to, when they were younger, especially be like, you need to apologize. And obviously there's some benefit in that, teaching them, okay, you've made a mistake. Maybe you should apologize to your brother or sister or to me or whatever. But I also love seeing the transition that he's kind of gotten to where I think he's probably convicted. Like after he calms down, like he realizes, oh, okay, I messed up. And he will come apologize. And it's, it's sweet.
I think that's a sensitivity to the spirit. A lot of times, and it shows a soft heart.
Yeah.
And God can do big things with that,
Yeah. And I think you're right. Just modeling that in particular, that like we all are going to make mistakes.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're following God or not. We're all going to make mistakes, period, and mess up and do things wrong, but learning how you treat yourself in that even, like you can beat yourself up over something.
Yeah.
Your kids are going to see that
Yep.
and they'll do that too. They'll take that on, but we all make mistakes.
Yes.
Own up to it.
Yes.
Apologize, ask for forgiveness, and they learn from that probably more than they learn from than the right things that we do maybe. So
well, it's our job as the women of the house to cultivate the culture.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Set the tone,
And so
we set the tone.
what we plant in our family will grow. And so the modeling is huge. Like we have to, like you said, forgiveness, model forgiveness. Because if you come in and you're mad that your kid did something, I'm speaking from personal experience here.
Right. We all do.
And then you hang on to it, they're going to forget it 10 seconds later. At least mine do.
Yes.
And then they don't know, and they do something cool, and they're like, hey, Mom, look what I did. And I'm just like, and just, then I missed a chance to reward them for doing something cool and acknowledge them for it. Whereas I'm still hanging on to what they forgot a year ago.
Yes.
It's not our job to hang on to those things. It's our job to teach them how to be successful in the world and be good soldiers for Christ too.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it's so. I was literally just thinking, like, a lot of times we set the tone. And I found myself, you mentioned you came in, it had been a day, you're throwing the laundry around or whatever. I'm like,
Never done that before.
do that a lot. Or like, yeah, it's just been a day and I come in the house and my mood for sure affects everybody else.
Yeah, 100%.
And I've definitely been convicted and had some major heart checks. Like, listen, like just change how you're thinking about things. Like,
Yeah.
and I also think, I was thinking about this with kids, older and younger. I really want to make sure that I'm like genuinely connecting with them and paying attention to what they're saying, even if they're telling you about Roblox for the 14th time in a row and you have no idea what they're talking about. Yes, like tell me all about your new skin you got. I don't know what that means, but
Sounds a little weird.
yeah. But even like when my oldest gets home from school before the other two, and I'm not always home when they get home from school because sometimes it just doesn't happen, but I try to be and I like to be, and I always try to make sure like that I stop what I'm doing. I give them a hug and connect with them after you've had that like being away from your kids, and you can do it with your husband too, but like just being away from your kids for a time period, whether they're at school all day or whatever, making sure I try to like reconnect with them. They still want to know they're special to you, even as they get older. And I think it's almost even more important. Like I heard on another podcast a long time ago, especially teens, like they need to know you still like delight in them. That you're not annoyed with them. You know, that you're like, I like you. I want to hang out with you. You're fun.
I was just thinking that there's a guy who lives up the road and he will stand outside when all the school buses come through because we have a school route that goes in our neighborhood. And I don't know if he is, but he looks like he's the most excited human being in the world to see these kids. And he'll just wave really big and he'll wave at me as I'm taking my kids to school. And it makes me so happy. And I mean, I don't even know this guy. And I look forward to seeing him. So what if like when our kids got home,
you're really
or when our
excited.
husband gets home.
Yes, I know. I'm like, I'm convicted about
them today.
Yeah.
We're a little more excited to see them. Aren't you excited to see the people who are excited to see you?
Yeah.
So, gosh, just
makes you
putting
feel
a little more
loved.
joy out there.
We wrote down our goals the other night and we had so much fun doing it. We didn't like plan it or anything, but it was so fun. It was like, what do we want to do this year? And I try to do more goals than resolutions. And one of my goals was literally look my child in the eye and encourage them. Because I just get so busy during my day where I'm like running each person to each thing that they do or picking them up from school I'm driving or on my phone or, you know, working on my computer or whatever. And I literally went to bed a few nights thinking, did I even look at my child today? Like, and it was so convicting. And so that was one of my goals for last year. I'm carrying it over into this year to keep me accountable. But oh my goodness, just you don't realize like
it's
how
huge, especially with the technology and stuff now. Like, I mean, I'm just speaking to myself. Like, I am so distracted sometimes, whether, even if it's work or whatever. It may not be just me scrolling on social media, which I also do, and that's something this year that I'm trying to nip in the bud. But it's just easy to not even have that genuine connection. You take for granted the eye contact with a person. It's huge. Wow. Yeah, because you can tell when somebody's not paying attention to you.
Like,
Our kids feel that too. I mean,
and my son will sit and talk about anything and everything.
And I meant that in the best way. Bennett, if you're watching. Like,
and I will text my husband and be like, oh my goodness, he's driving me crazy, you know, or something. Because he's just, and I'm just trying to stay focused. And he's like, remember, if he knows that he can talk to you about the little things, he will keep talking, you know, and will talk to you about the big things. So it's a big reminder.
It's hard when things are busy. I mean, it is.
It is. To be
important.
intentional.
Yeah.
A lot of it just comes back to intentionality.
It really does.
It really does. Yeah.
Making an effort to know that they know
Yeah.
that you're there.
Yep.
Awesome. Do you guys have anything else? That was good. I'm
That was a good conversation.
I know. I'm sure there's a million
We've
different
answered
directions
all the world's
we could.
problems.
Yes. Today we solved every parenting problem.
All of them.
No, there's a lot of other things, but I mean, parenting is a huge topic. So,
Yep.
thanks for sharing some of the stuff that you guys do, though. Like, and every family's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I want people that might be watching or listening to know, like, every family is different. You have to figure out what works for your family.
Absolutely.
Like, not every family is going to sit down and have a devotional time every day, but there are families that do, and that's great.
Yeah.
I know. Do you know Ruth Chow?
Yes.
Summit?
Oh,
Did you see their book Foundations that her and her husband wrote?
I haven't seen it or read it, but I love her.
It's all about
They have 6 boys,
how
right?
they implement Jesus into their home. And oh my gosh. And I think there's some great techniques in there and they just make it practical.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. You do have to just make it for what your family, because every child's different too.
Yeah. Every
And
child is
so-
different.
Yeah.
I think the principles are the same. The application is what's different
Yeah.
based on personalities in your home.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
It is.
Really.
Thanks, ladies.
Thanks for
Anything
joining
else that you want
us.
to add that we didn't get to?
Keep praying for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all need it. Well, and I think that's one thing. I mean, if you are a Christ follower and you're a parent, rely on the Holy Spirit to lead you.
Yes.
Like, because there are every day, all day long situations that they're not specified in the Bible. How do I do this? And every kid's different. And like, he'll lead you though.
Very, very much so.
Do you guys, this is a random question. Do any of you guys have a scripture that you've chosen for your children or anything like a child? Misty does. And that's why we were talking about it before.
I haven't, but one thing that this season that I've been praying over them, like in Paul and Philippians, where he talks about his life, because of what has happened in his life, it is bringing the gospel. And so one thing that I pray over each one of our kids is let whatever they go through, they know that it is help glorifying God, like that it would be a situation that, and so that's really been my prayer over them lately. So just because they've had a hard couple of years. And so, yeah.
It's really good though.
But it's not been like a specific scripture.
Yeah,
I
I
would say.
didn't know. Like she had told me one time she picked one for each of her kids,
That's
and
awesome.
like
That.
like they know it. Like you know what I mean. The kids know it, and she like says it over them every day.
Yeah.
I think it may not be in that format, but Nicole had brought up, and Truett had bad dreams when he would, and praying over him. And Ethan was similar to that when he was younger. And we used to pray, we used to continually say that, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and sound mind. And so that I felt like was ingrained in him.
Yeah.
And then also greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. So as a younger child, like raising them up with those truths to know not only who they are in Christ, but the strength that they have to be overcome the enemy was effective. So
Absolutely.
Awesome.
We always did that. Yeah. Whenever we'd pray over him, I would teach him. I was like, you need to speak it out loud. You need to use your words. Whenever you wake up and you are scared, God does not give us that spirit of fear. That is Satan that's trying to scare you. And Jesus can defeat Satan because he is bigger and stronger. And I said, so say the name of Jesus, and then just say Jesus is all you have to do. And then tell him God always wins. God always wins. And just something that was small that he might remember, and then we'd like chant it just so it was something that would come quick to mind. But I have different, prayers for each of them. I always pray that they will love Jesus fiercely. And one of my biggest prayers is that Jesus will just never let go of their hearts. And because no matter what I've always been through, God has always kept something in me that keeps coming back. I've never I've been through a lot, but I always go back to God. Even from, things that most people would just turn away from God and be like, nah, I'm done with that. God has always done something to draw back. So I pray that for my kids too.
you think it's making the choice before something happens that regardless of what the situation looks like, I will trust him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so modeling that for our kiddos.
That's good.
One more thing, that I read. Tell us. I was reading in one of the Bible reading plans on the YouVersion. It was a parenting plan, and they had said that they were writing prayers in the front of a journal for each one of their children and giving them the journal. And I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. Yes.
Love
so that's
that
just,
idea.
I've not done that, but that's, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So I was like, that would be so cool. Yeah. And they do it each year for their kids. So I don't know.
That's really cool.
That was
That
kinda
is cool.
Yeah.
I like that it's yearly. I've done it like whenever my husband and I went to Israel a couple years ago, I wrote each of them a prayer letter just in case anything would happen to us or whatever. You know, I wanted them to have something specific handwritten. So, but I like doing it yearly. That's a good idea.
So everybody go home.
Go home and
Get
write.
a journal. That's a great idea, though.
Yeah.
Then they have that too, and they have your handwriting and
Yeah.
how special that is.
Yeah.
Oh, see, you took it a better area. I was just thinking of typing it out and printing it off.
that
But yeah, I mean, I'm like,
No, it doesn't matter either one. Like, that's really cool.
Still your words for
yeah,
sure.
still your words. Yeah. It's awesome.
I definitely agree. I think that prayer is one of the most important things that we can do as parents, grandparents, mentors, friends, is go to battle for the people we love in prayer. I know personally that I am the person I am today because people prayed for me.
absolutely.
100%.
My grandma, my parents, my family, just all of them. I wouldn't be where I am and have the faith I have without them stepping up first.
Yeah.
And so that's important. So get yourself a prayer partner for sure.
Yes.
And if we can pray for you, please let us
Yes.
know. We would love to hear anything, any of it in the comments. So comment down below and we will definitely reach out and pray for you. While you're still here, please like and subscribe. Ring that notification bell to stay up to date on all that's going on with the Shieldmaidens podcast. And until next time, grab a shield. We'll see you out there.
Bye.